debates and decisions that are shaping our continent now in Europeans.
When is it all right for a worker to jump the border to go to work? Rui is Portuguese, but his job is in Spain. His case is common. He'll do the drive 60 kilometers from his home in northern Portugal with a van load of colleagues to a building site in Vigo, Spain. That's causing a lot of bad feeling on the Spanish side, but Rui says the math is pretty simple.
O salário, mesmo assim.
It's the wages. In Portugal, we were earning about half.
Quase metade, praticamente. Tive que ser, pelo menos em Ponte Lima.
Pick a number. The government says one thing, the unions say another. It's thought that around 15,000 Portuguese are labouring away in Galicia, the top left corner of Spain, half of them under the official radar. Rui says he has everything in order, but he knows a lot of people who are having a bad time with it.
Acho que tem que lutar pela vida.
They have to earn a living. There's no other way. There hasn't been much work in Portugal for some years, and now there's less of it in Spain as well. We didn't start out with these conditions, but I know lots of people living all together in one apartment. I wouldn't accept staying abroad. I'd prefer to work in Portugal.
Construction in Spain has flourished in the past 10 years, and somewhere along the way, the cross-border flow of workers from Portugal became a torrent. Now, Spain's unemployment rate has topped 10%, and construction is one of the most affected sectors. Local labourers say that it's unfair that Portuguese workers work for wages lower than the union rate, on site for excessively long hours, and no social benefits. Jorge has been a crane operator for more than 20 years.
We see almost everything here. Workers living in shacks and attics. The truth is, the conditions are precarious. The authorities should do something to fix this. Now that we're low on work, Spanish businessmen are laying people off. But we see the same number of vans coming over from Portugal, and that's not right.
Jorge gives his point of view even more frankly.
The authorities haven't got a clue what's happening here, either on site or in the companies. Not the European community or the government. Actually, I think the government knows something.
The Galician Unions Confederation says it's ready to force the authorities to take action. It believes that otherwise Portuguese and Spanish workers could come to blows.
We're afraid we could end up with confrontation. There are things that we don't want to happen. Therefore, we must find a way out using all means possible. The parties that are responsible for a problem affecting Portuguese and Galician workers are the authorities and the European directive that allows social dumping within the European Union.
que permite que se den este tipo de situacións de dumping social dentro da propia Unión Europea.
Protests have been scheduled for the coming months and strikes.
We've denounced the situation to the labour inspectors. They know. We've got all the union leaders together here in Vigo. And if by June or July the Spanish administration doesn't have measures in place to end this situation, we're thinking of mobilising, paralysing the sector, to force the administration to do what it should.
The unions believe the status quo suits the governments just fine. For Madrid, it makes things easier for a part of the economy in slowdown, and for Lisbon, it's a valve for unemployment. The European rules require member states to ensure that cross-border workers enjoy at least the minimum employment conditions established in their away-from-home host state. Galicia's Labour Minister says he's aware there's a conflict.
Inspection is working very intensely. We have a specific program for major public works. But when the unions blow the whistle and we go to these locations, none of the labourers tell us they're irregular.
EuroNews tried to talk with some Portuguese workers in Galicia. Most of them were reluctant to answer any questions.
Olá. São portugueses? Podemos falar bocado com vocês? Quantas horas
You
por
work how many hours a day?
trabalho aqui?
You do what? 8-hour shifts? Here we're better paid than them. We work more and we earn more money, right? If they complain, they should work. A Portuguese that goes to a Spanish company to work is better paid than the Spanish. That's because the Spaniards are slower.
Northern Portugal's construction labour union has known about the work going on across the border unofficially for quite some time. It says it regrets that its Galician counterpart has only reacted with the employment slump. The head of the union in Portugal says there are fair grounds to be bitter.
When a worker falls while on site, as happened 3 years ago, and dies, and is carried back to Portugal in a van, you can consider that modern, refined slavery. The construction sector in Portugal, or any country in the world, operates like a pyramid scheme. At the top are the entrepreneurs, where the level of failure is lower. With the recruitment agencies, the level of failure and exploitation is much higher.
According to a Portuguese recruitment agency association, there are nearly 500 fake companies recruiting illegally in Portugal. Similar cases have been detected elsewhere in Europe. In spite of the European directive, recent decisions by the European Court of Justice have set a precedent in allowing cross-border workers not to be bound by collective labour agreements in the away-from-home country where they work. In Galicia, no one would go on camera and name any specific rule breakers. But late in the evening, in the failing light, the diehards hammer on.